Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, it's June already in the Surrender to Remember portal. This is our month of heart-centered living. So welcome. My name's Hollis Bailey, and I am your guide throughout these monthly themes. This is officially our 6th month. So whether you've been here for a while or whether you're just hopping in, you have 6 months of content. Each lesson has built on itself. And so here we are in our 6th month, really diving into this vast space that is the heart. There are a couple exciting and also perhaps challenging things that are going to happen this month should you decide to really dive into this theme and do some of the exercises that I'm going to be sharing with you. So if you haven't watched Andrea's forecast for the full moon in Sagittarius at the end of May, go back and check that out because she gives a little bit of an insight into where we're headed. We just started eclipse season, and you don't have to be an expert in astrology to know that eclipse seasons tend to be a little bit more heightened emotionally. So I'll add a couple of videos into the comments in this lesson under the welcome videos that can help you, that you can go and see where your rising sign is and what themes might be coming up for this month, because it really is a month of going inwards and integration, like Andrea talked about in that video, and introspection and reflection. And this couldn't be a more perfect time to do this lesson on heart-centered living, in my opinion, because it really does take courage to open up this space. So the workshop is going to be, we're going to touch on what is your major resistance to opening up this space. You know, for most of us, this started in childhood. We learn to, for whatever reason, close ourselves down, to build walls, to have protection around us. And so all of us have this story about why we chose to avoid living from our heart in the first place. So many of us have moments, and many of us may be well into our journey at this point, where we are very conscious about, living from our heart versus our mind. But even those of us who have tons of tools and who've been on this spiritual path for a long time, there's still more to go. This is the vast, infinite space where our consciousness is. So there's always more to discover. One big thing that's been coming up for me a lot lately is this I don't want to say pressure, this urge, this necessity to really transcend and kind of get over being stuck in the past. So it's a part of all of our journeys once we start this path to reflect and look at where our wounds are, what our core wounds are. Of course they came from childhood. Of course they came from our traumas. Maybe that was parents and the ones who raised you. Maybe that was something that happened to you where you were actually a victim. We all have stories, but we've done the Radical Self-Responsibility Month where we learn to claim those stories, and eventually in our spiritual journey, if we're really wanting to evolve our consciousness, we become responsible co-creators. So we take responsibility for attracting that situation or those years of conditioning into our life because we wanted to become experts in that theme. So for me, it was being a victim and blaming and shaming, and I closed myself off because it felt really uncomfortable to be vulnerable in the presence of adults who weren't teaching me how to be responsible about my emotions or how to process my emotions. And so I kind of got stuck in that blame and shame for many, many years. And I'm finding this urge to just be over that and kind of move on to the next thing. Joe Dispenza, I can't remember what it was a YouTube video, and I'll find it and post it as well in the links here so you can have that resource. But he mentioned in this interview that I was watching how, once we can really integrate those lessons from the past that inevitably were the things that led us to start to close down our heart, once we can claim those and integrate the lessons and forgive ourselves and forgive our past. And it doesn't mean we have to, love our abusers or be doormats for them. No, it means we claim our power back. We say, thank you so much for those lessons. Thank you, abuser, or the one who did me wrong, or the one I've been so mad at for years. Thank you so much for those lessons. I can really see how you played a role in my life and helped me become an expert in this process. And at that point, we get to move on towards the future. And that was Joe Dispenza's that was what I heard when I heard him talking about this, is that we put the past in the past, and it frees up so much space in our heart once we can really integrate those lessons to begin creating this future of infinite abundance and infinite possibility, which is really what we came here for. We're living in an incredible time. There are very few people who have got to walk this path in terms of really being the creator and having the life of our dreams, being able to step out of those generations that were really stuck in these patterns and these rhythms and at this level of consciousness that was, you just do what the generation before you did. We're in this time of massive awakening. We have so many tools and so many opportunities at our fingertips to really claim our stories and claim our past. And if you're here, that's what you're doing. So I hope that we can really open up to this level of vulnerability and open ourselves to feeling the pain, being willing to just go there, to drop in, to do the things that are really, really uncomfortable. For some of us, that's going to be feeling. For some of us, that's going to be, admitting our part in certain situations. I always say, this is a very humbling path. This is a very humbling path to unlearn the lessons and the stories and the belief systems that we've been living under for years. So be willing to be in a state of humility. Be willing to be in a state of surrender. Surrender is, I didn't just make that name up, surrender to remember, because it sounded cute and it rhymed. Of course, I love that too. But surrender to what you know in your heart once you get really honest with yourself. Once you start living in a place of integrity, saying, I'm ready to claim my story. I'm ready to take back all the blame and the shame and the resentment. I'm ready to stop living out of that belief system that is really not getting me anywhere. And surrender to what your life might look like without it. You will inevitably get shown the lessons, the next action steps forward as you do that. So June's going to be a month of reflection. Please have a journal with you. Please make time for yourself to do the meditations. The meditations are going to be very supportive and take you on a journey. There's plenty of meditations too in the past modules that can help you get into your heart and uncover those walls, face those walls, get insight, channel the messages from your higher self, what those walls are all about. And so you have those places where you can say, you know what, I'm totally ready to face this. I'm ready to be done with this lesson. I'm ready to integrate it. And then use the meditations from this month to, they're all going to be based on using Mother Earth, the elements, as support tools for you to integrate. So surrender, water. Let me look at my notes here. We're going to be looking at the earth, the earth element, so, like dropping to your knees. Have you ever dropped to your knees in prayer and just said, you know what, I'm so done with this. I have no idea how to take this story and change it. I've been thinking about this wound, this trauma for so long, and I feel like I'm stuck. Mother Earth, can you please do something about it? Really, really being in nature and immersing yourself in solitude in nature and paying attention to what messages the plants have for you, what messages the animals have for you, what messages the feeling of the day has for you. Is it a dark, dreary, heavy day? Are there emotions that are wanting to come out with that? So really connecting to this element of earth, Connecting to the water element, to, I love praying over my water. That's not a new concept either. So filling your glass with water, first staying hydrated, give your body the nourishment that it needs to be able to process these emotions. If you're going to be opening yourself to being willing to let go and process these emotions, stay hydrated so that you have the capacity to do that, and pray over your water. Water has a consciousness. That's been proven by science. I don't even need the science to know that. It just makes sense. Everything in nature has a consciousness. That's why everything in nature exists, to really help support the human race and our evolution. We're just so fortunate. We're so blessed to be living on this planet. So, use water to help you stay open to processing, and pray into your water and help allow it to help you integrate the lessons that you're calling in this month. Use the fire element to transmute, again, letting go, sending things into the fire that you just are ready to let go of. You don't have to know how. That's where so many of us get stuck, is we get stuck in this mental trap of, I want to know how, I want to know how, I want to know how. Channeling is available to all of us. Let's open ourselves up to the gifts that we have, in terms of allowing our guides to take it on for us, allowing the angels to come in, allowing our spirit guides to come and just transmute the energy. We don't need to know how. Why would we want to know how? I love this story. This is going to be really a little bit vulgar, but Keith Wilson said this the other day. Every time we take a shit, do we need to know what meal we're pooping out? Do we sit there and go, I wonder if that's what I ate last night, or if that's what I ate 2 days ago? No, of course we don't. We just want to let it go, and then we want to flush it and be done with it. So take your spiritual lessons and apply that same analogy. It's hilarious, right? We get so stuck on I wonder what I'm processing. I wonder what memory I'm processing. I wonder what trauma I'm processing. I wonder what person is still needing to be blamed or shamed for this thing. Or I wonder if I should still. No, just let it go. Fire is the element of absolute transmutation, okay? Send it from the earth to heaven. Send all of your prayers, send all of the things you want to let go, send all of your heaviness up in the flames, and just let it go. Same thing with the air element. So 2 things I want to say about the air element that we're going to be using, that I'd love you to consider, is first of all, getting some feathers, and I'm going to go through a few more of the shamanic tools that can be really helpful for anyone wanting to bring in more of this ancestral wisdom. But I just love using just feathers. You can bring smoke into this as a cleansing, but allow the things to just be sloughed off and sent out to the air and blown away in the wind. So, keep our bodies clean. This also feels really good. It feels like tender, loving care. You can brush your chest with it. You can, pat your heart open, allowing whatever, animal of the spirit, or just feathers, just that simple light touch to gently remind your heart space that it's here to be opened. I'm probably tapping on the microphone. Sorry about that. So using the air element to keep you awake, to keep you clean, to keep you reminded that we sometimes get so lost in our small details of things that we lose sight of the bigger picture. Now, I want to say it's absolutely important to totally lose yourself in the experience, to get lost in our suffering for a little bit, because then we recognize what's happening. And that's really our indication that, okay, it's time to zoom out here and take a look at what the bigger picture is. So that's part of the process, getting lost in our heart. We go inside our heart, we dredge up those dramas and traumas and memories, and we get lost for a little bit. But we can always use the tool of zooming out to speed up this process of integration by zooming out and saying, you know what? Why am I triggered so much by this person? Or why am I seeing the same thing reflected back to me in so many of my relationships? What's going on? What's in it here for me? And then take responsibility and do your own internal process out of it. So that's, the air elements amazing for, again, just sending things out, allowing them to blow away and be transmuted. And it's also a good reminder for us to zoom out and get clear on the bigger picture here. So we're going to be using the elements. You know, I've heard a lot of channelers say in the last, I want to say since the beginning of the year, perhaps even longer, and especially in the last few ceremonies and meetings I've been in with people who are really connected to talking to their guides and channeling these higher beings, who all eyes on planet Earth right now in the universe, by the way. June and July are likely going to be very collectively very heavy months. So grief comes up in waves. I may bring it into the workshop. I'm kind of in the process of writing the workshop right now. And what's really helped me understand the process of grief is looking up the process of grief. So that's something that you can do on your own if you are really feeling like you're grieving, or if you're watching others in your life grieve. I think one of the main things people, and this may just be my perception because this is my personal story in terms of health and the healthcare system, that was really my spiritual journey, was how I got blown wide open, was learning how to take my own health and my own body back into my own hands. Now I'm open for it all. I think what Western medicine has a very good purpose, but I do think that a lot more people over the next few months with the vaccine coming out, and definitely the next few years, are going to be feeling a lot of grief and betrayal around the Western medical system. I know I had that process and I was on my own at this point. This is just the process that my soul decided to live. But I had been to Western medical doctors for years, being prescribed a different medication for a different symptom and made to feel really, really powerless and really, really like I was innately fucked up because these medicines and these diagnoses weren't working. And I learned just by the natural process of eventually deciding, basically having a spiritual awakening in a single doctor's appointment when I was told I was going to have surgery on one of my glands, basically, or else. I just had this spiritual awakening, and it just was so absurd to me that I got the message in that moment that this is what a lot of us are here to do, is in terms of reclaiming our health, in terms of reclaiming our power, and you know, I'm not going to get into any of the conspiracy theories around COVID, but I do think it's here teaching us a very personal lesson in terms of caring for our own health. So I know many of you have your own health regimens, and I'm sure many of you have already started to really take care of yourselves and not put all of the responsibility on the Western medical system. But there are a lot of people in this world who have not started that process, and I think that grieving process, because I know for me it was a really, really deep grieving process for many years. Every time I would get sent home with a medication and it wouldn't work, and I would start to doubt more, and I would start to feel very alone and afraid and betrayed that the people who I was taught were supposed to take care of me and give me answers into how I was supposed to get well were not working. And so I think that's going to be happening on a global scale for the next couple of months, and especially for the next few years to come. So I just wanted to put that out there, because you're going to be feeling what's in the collective. No matter where you are, don't get wrapped up in it. Definitely process your own grief, but again, know when to draw your energetic boundaries. This is another thing that cleansing can do for you. And so let me go through a couple of the instruments that I had mentioned in the Facebook group for you to consider adding to your own collection of energy cleansing tools. So these can be really great in just clearing off the debris. You know, you go out to the grocery store, maybe you talk to someone, maybe you don't, but you come home for some reason feeling drained and heavy, that's a really good indication that you've taken on some energy that wasn't yours and that it's time to let it go. So watch yourself in your own process. You know, even if you already know you're an empath and you don't have good boundaries, these are practices you should literally be doing every single day until your body, your energy system starts to know how to have boundaries and how to care for itself. If you're an empath, you didn't learn boundaries. This is something, again, that you came here to become an expert in, to take on everyone else's shit and then learn through your experience that it wasn't yours to take on, to give it back, and then become empowered by your gifts, right? So the first one I want to show you is a rattle. Mine, I bought this rattle because it's in the shape of an egg. It's not very loud. It's a very soft sound, but you can literally find like maracas or even like small eggs that are the size of an actual egg. I have those in Sophia's music instrument kit that have beads in them, and they're just plastic eggs with beads. You can literally use anything that makes this kind of rattle shaker sound. And you're going to feel when you do this, especially around your heart, or if you have like a pressure headache, you know, you've been thinking and you're worrying. When you do this, when you use this rattle, this is breaking up the energy and allowing it to move. So this can cause catharsis. This can just cause a big fucking relief if you're like, you know, carrying around tons of people's shit and it's not yours to carry around. So I highly recommend this. If you don't have any other instruments, this is a beautiful one to have on hand, especially in these times, just to keep your energy clean, keep it moving, keep the debris, you know, flowing, so that it can be released. And also it's just fun. It's just really fun to have something that makes noise and can kind of bring you back into the present moment. The other one is a singing bowl. Now these are going to be a little bit more of an investment, of course. And there's all kinds of different ones. I sent you, or I'll put a link to this, Sunreed Instruments, even if you don't buy your instruments from them. Zakiah Blackburn, I believe is his name, the founder of the mystery school and the sound school that he has, gives so many videos on how to choose your instruments and why, you know, different ones are better and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this bowl was about $100, but you can get them for $20, I'm sure. But I really love the sound quality. And this again can help you energy cleanse, can help you become balanced and really come back to your center. This is in the note of, this particular bowl is in the note of C. Sunreed Instruments, again, he has a really good training on the different notes and the different resonances in terms of chakra balancing. I personally recommend, and this is how I picked this bowl, trying all of the tones out and spending about, you know, 2 or 3 full toning sessions with them to really see what bowl and what note and what frequency resonates with you. C technically is for the root chakra. F is for the heart chakra. So that's something to think about if you're going to just buy one bowl, you know, and you don't have time to like, or you aren't quite sure about how the frequencies are sitting with you. They say, you know, C is the root chakra, D is the sacral chakra, E would be the power center chakra, F would be the heart chakra, and all the way up. So, you know, I love the singing bowls, and you can make them sing. Start to feel the balancing effects, the cleansing effects. I'm feeling emotions start to come up. So another awesome tool to consider in this heart opening process, and play around with. Again, super fun to have instruments on hand. And then one more, which again, this is going to be more of an investment, but if you do like rhythmic things in your meditations, if you are trying to open your throat chakra, I know there's been many conversations about this. If you want to start singing, you know, shamanic drums are awesome. This is a really deep sound, and for me, I can start to feel the heartbeat of Mother Earth. I feel very, very grounded when I'm playing this drum. I love singing with it. It just feels like a tool that, yeah, is grounding, also very opening and expansive. It's almost like a hug to me. It's like a hug from Mother Earth in many ways. This is Alkyd. If you want to know about my drum, I can tell you about it. I've heard from many people down here that they love it. So Alkyd is going to give you a little bit deeper earthy tone than something like cowhide, but again, you can go to Sunreed Instruments and look at all of those videos and tutorials that he has on there. So this is a very long intro video. I apologize for it being so long. I didn't expect it to be, but I do want to say I'm really excited to have this month be, after all that we've been through, you have a lot of support tools to go back to should you need more support. I'm going to be adding a lot of new tools into this month. You know, we'll have a new yoga class. The collective oracle reading was amazing. So take notes and get, you know, take what you want and leave the rest. Of course, you don't have to resonate with all 15 cards that I pulled, but it is a good overview of what the supportive energies are for us. Seems like it's going to be a very mystical month, which makes sense because when we go into our heart, it's a very mystical place. And I want us to be really courageous this month in terms of going in and facing our discomforts and facing our fears and facing our sticking points so that we can really move on and begin to hold space for ourselves in a way that feels more safe and more comforting, and also just the fun ways. When we process and integrate things to completion, we have all of this free space in our heart that is left for, you know, more love, more compassion, more trust, more worthiness. So that's really what we're doing here. We're searching for love, and we have to go through our fears to get there. So we're in this together. I'm so honored that you're in here and that you're doing this work. I see you, I hear you, I love you so much. I'll see you in the workshop.